Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for tuning in. John Kelly, profiler here, and welcome. Welcome to today's show. It's going to be a pretty wild show, so hang in there. We're going to be talking about Kohberger. We're going to be talking about Bundy. We're going to be talking about the leaks that have taken place. I mean, we've got a lot going on, and there was blood found around there too. So does that indicate another suspect? Supposedly just allegations that we're going to hear possibly about somebody else that Mr. Kohberger knows. And I have to tell you right now, Brian Kohberger is completely innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. He definitely is going to get his day in court, like you or I would want to as well. Also, if you're interested, we have some great educational videos on addiction, the nation's worst serial killer, addiction. And that's over on our channel Thrive, John Kelly's Thrive. Check it out. It's all free. You take it as you want. It's like a buffet. Take what you want, leave the rest. Go over to John Kelly's Thrive. If you happen to have any kind of addiction going on in your family, or you're suffering from addiction yourself, any kind of substance abuse, take a look at it. I even have one started on gambling over there. It's really, really, really informative. Today, we are very happy and very honored to have Pam Bogart on. She's a fantastic investigator. She's also a member of our Stalk team. Pam has been in the business for like 30 years, doing research and investigating people. And we're just really, really happy to have her. And hey, Pam, welcome. Thank you so much for coming on today. Truly appreciate it.
An honor to be here.
Truly, truly appreciate it. So, here we are again, back with Mr. Kohberger. Always something going on there. I mean, what do you think about this leaking of evidence with Dateline and everything? I mean, it's pretty crazy.
Right. Well, the judge is pretty mad about it, and it seems like it looks like they're going to open a special investigation. Am I correct about that, right?
That's what I heard.
And it's going to delay the trial. So, I mean, it just happened to fall into their hands at the right time.
Yeah, absolutely. And breaking news last night was because of this leak, they possibly have to eliminate the death penalty. Okay. So, and there was an attorney I saw in the news that was talking about, yeah, they'll probably have a continuance and the trial won't take place when it's supposed to, but they will not eliminate the death penalty as far as she's concerned. And she's quite a defense attorney out in Idaho. She's not on this case, but she was just giving her professional opinion on what she thinks is going on there, right?
What would she feel about the what it's gonna, whether it would damage the prosecution's case or not in any way?
He said it could. Depends on what they let in and what they keep out.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's I guess we're going to be sitting back and watching. But the other thing is they have to vet every juror,
Right.
and see if who watched it.
Right.
Personally, I hope Dateline doesn't do a rerun.
A little too early for that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But it got so much talk and so much publicity. Whoa, I mean, there's so many people dying to see, but there's some people really that shouldn't see it if they're going to be jurors, right? So we'll see what happens. The other thing that we're looking at is, the survivors of Kohberger and Bundy, right? I mean, that's. What do you think about that? I mean, you know, um, we had Bundy who had some girls survive him in the sorority. In
right?
the Kohberger case, we didn't have anybody really that survived, right?
Well, the two Dylan Mortensen and Bethany Frankel, I mean, they were in the house,
They were there, they were downstairs, yeah.
so they
Yeah.
could have been. I mean, I mean, they could have been could have happened to them, but for whatever reason, there's a lot of speculation. He was exhausted, even though he might have seen Dylan peeking out the door,
Hmm.
or he was maybe in a trance because he wasn't planning on taking on that many victims.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah,
Yeah, I mean, certainly, the adrenaline could have pooped out on him. I mean, he didn't have any gas left in the tank. Um, Although I think if he wasn't in that state of euphoria, like you and I talked about, and he made some kind of eye contact with her downstairs, he
right,
definitely would have tried to kill her because, he didn't want to leave a witness in any
right,
way, shape, or form a witness. I mean, he was trying to dot the I's and cross the T's. If in fact it was Kohberger, we're talking about a guy with a mask and bushy eyebrows and stuff. I mean, so we're going to have to see. But, right now he's the only suspect. He's the one that's under arrest. He's the one that's being tried. So we're going to have to wait and see there. The other thing you brought up too that was interesting was the survivor in the Bundy case too. It was very, very
right.
similar, right? I mean, you had survivors that survived the attack that were even roughed up a little, but he didn't kill them.
Right, but also, these two attacks kind of bear a striking resemblance, not in maybe the way that people were killed, because Bundy used a club, I believe, right, or some kind of an
Hmm.
object to beat them.
Hmm. Yeah,
But
piece of wood, some kind of
yeah,
club.
some
Yeah.
kind of piece of wood. But I mean, the same sort of like frenzied attack. I mean, that was a sorority house. This was not a sorority house, but it was a place where sorority sisters lived.
Hmm.
And the same kind of like frenzied, like full of rage,
Hmm.
going through a house, just striking people. And yes, there was like, it kind of reminded me the witness who, they didn't identify her, but there was a witness downstairs who actually saw Bundy after he came down the steps when he was leaving. Just like,
Hmm.
just like when Kohberger or allegedly Kohberger was leaving, how Dylan peeked and saw him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the difference being too, that we picked up on that there had to be a target in the mix here with
Mhm.
Kohberger. At least we believed that pretty much from the beginning. Bundy did not have a specific target in mind. Um, he just ran into the house, like you said, all kinds of crazy and
Mhm.
rageful. Um, so you brought up Maddie, right? And I agree with you. I think Maddie was a survivor. I mean, what do you think about that? What led you to believe it was Maddie that was the target of the attack?
Well, John, we did a show on this a couple months back, like, motives and stuff. And I had read that article, shortly after he was arrested about this girl that he had a crush on in middle school, who he used to write letters to and, constantly try to get close to her. And she really rebuffed him. She was a kid, but she, just didn't want anything to do with him. And
Hmm.
she bears like a striking resemblance in a way to Maddie, as did Bundy's when Bundy was rejected by his fiance. Everybody that he seemed to go after bared a resemblance, just like Kohberger sort of like is into blondes, it seems, so it seems, allegedly. Bundy was into brunettes, right?
Right?
Long dark hair, parted in the middle, college girls, same thing, sort of.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, absolutely. There's no question about it. And when you look at Maddie, I mean, she did work in that restaurant. We can't put Mr. Kohberger at all in that restaurant, even though he tried to eat vegan. That restaurant around, like you brought up, did serve vegan food, but it was not completely vegan, a completely vegan restaurant. So if he was looking for any kind of vegan eats, I don't know of any other place that has come up
Mm,
besides that restaurant. Okay. And I just wonder, if, he could have possibly slipped in and out of there and made her acquaintance. Nobody's the wiser. I mean, I just don't know. I mean, it was a public place. People come, people go, you
right.
know. Um, so I really don't know. I can't say he was there ever. I can't say he met her there. But I really feel that he saw her somewhere. She became his target. He, scoped in on her. He visualized her um, somewhere. We don't know where. We don't know if it was online somehow. We don't know if it was possibly in that restaurant, coming out of that restaurant, at any other place on the campus. We don't know. We don't know. But the one thing we do know, and you brought up too, is he was around that house quite a bit. Based on the Dateline story. I mean, so he was attracted to that house, and from my understanding, Kaylee wasn't supposed to be there that weekend that anybody else really knew of. Maybe they did. I don't know. I have a hard time seeing him going in on two or three people at the same time, four people at the same time. I mean, one guy, Ethan. I mean, I see him going after his target, which I believe, only my opinion, was Maddie. But I mean, she was scoped out really good. It seemed he knew where he was going through the house. You brought that up.
Mm.
I agree, but
Well,
I have a hard time with him really knowing everything that was going on that weekend. Because don't forget, there's a dog in there too.
mhm,
And if you want to sneak in a house
mm,
and hurt somebody or do whatever, I mean, you don't want to go in a house where there's a dog.
right.
Because that dog is going to pick up on you so fast. They're like probably the best, security alarms you could have. They'll start barking in a minute. They'll smell you in a minute. Know something's wrong, right?
Mhm.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, no, I was just going to say that, I have always believed, I mean, just my opinion, that, there were parties in that, it was a party house, right? And there was lots of times that I think parties happened when those girls weren't even there. There was an incident where the police were called to the house and nobody that actually lived there was there. So who knows whether he could have slipped in and out of there? I mean, frat parties, you know what they're like, right? People are drinking, or people really, in and out, people are coming. I mean, if you've ever been to college, that's how it is. Nobody's really keeping track of anything. So I mean, he just was in and out of that house the night of the murder so quickly. He had to seem to know where he was going, to me. And the only way he would know that is if he had been inside the house. I mean, yeah, he probably was outside stalking, but you still don't know the makeup of the house until you're actually in there. So,
Exactly. I mean, especially if you're going to do a murder or a double or a triple, how about quadruple murder? I mean,
mm,
you really, with a knife, no gun. I mean, you really gotta, I don't know. I don't know. There's more questions than answers at this point. Hopefully, more will be revealed at trial, right? We'll see what takes place there, you know? And then the other thing that I look at is, Kohberger's addictions and fantasies, right? If he's the killer, all right? Because, we have him as a young man doing heroin, all right? Now, heroin's quite an addiction. There's no
right.
question about it. But I have a hard time, and I have really never ran into a sexual serial killer that used heroin. Never. In all the cases we've covered, okay? Yeah, alcohol can be considered a central nervous system depressant, much slighter than heroin. Okay. Heroin kind of immobilizes you. I mean, if you're doing bags of heroin, like he was doing supposedly when he was younger, I mean, the last thing on your mind is trying to wrestle through a house with three or four different people. You know, I've treated a lot of heroin addicts on the unit, and pretty much they just nod off. I mean, and go into their high. Um, but definitely not a stimulant drug. Alcohol, I could see, um, because it gives these guys that edge, that extra edge of courage they need to do the deed, to get out
Mm,
there and go after it. But the focus is usually on, stimulation, the stimulation of the hunt, the stimulation of the conquest, the stimulation of the, power, control, and sexual dominance, over the usually a female, right? And then lots of times the murder is witness disposal. Sometimes, in some cases, it's part of the ritual, like the torturing, of the person. They're getting off on that, the bondage of the person. It usually blends into some type of fetish. Okay. But in most cases, it's pretty much, I've had what I wanted from you. I've had the power, control, sexual dominance. I'm going to kill you now because I don't want you appearing in court and testifying against me. Okay. So they're kind of just, killing them and dumping them off the road or in the woods somewhere. So it's witness disposal. Um, and pretty much with Bundy, and we're going to talk more about this in the coming weeks. Bundy was a necrophiliac too. I mean,
right.
Bundy spent time, just like Gary Ridgway, the Green River Killer. Both of them
Mm,
from the same area. It's unique, right? But both of them were necrophiliacs and spent time with the bodies and body parts of their victims. Much different than what we have here with Kohberger.
mm,
Kohberger, and I believe if he is the killer, certainly he is innocent again until he gets his day in court. But if he is the killer, I believe this was really his first time out. Um, I mean, it seems like he really put a lot of planning into this. What do you think about that? Because you brought up all those different trips that he made around the house, like scoping it out.
well, that was another leak on Dateline, that there was like 23, separate times prior to the, murder, that he was like scoping out the house or in that area. Okay. And then, supposedly the night of the murder, another leak was that he was, zeroing in on the house, like going by it, coming back, and until he decided to, if it was him, until he decided to go into the house.
Mhm.
But he only,
Right.
the timeline is 4:07 to 4:20. And, like you said, I think he just planned on doing one person. And I kind of think what happened is that he got stunned. He had two in a bedroom. If this is him, he had two in a bedroom. And so that kind of threw him off. And then I think Xana probably ran downstairs to get her food, ran upstairs, heard a noise, according to Dateline, approached the steps. He hears somebody downstairs. That's probably why he disregarded that knife sheath. He didn't even think about that. He just needed to get downstairs to either get out of the house or confront the next person. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
and I think when he might have, this is just my opinion, chased her into that bedroom. And then maybe Ethan started to stir because he was sleeping and he figured he'd eliminate him first. And then that's probably why he said the thing that he said to her, right? She was crying and he said, I'm not here to, I'm here to help you, or I'm going to help you.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I mean that like rings so true in my ears when I heard that, because how many times over the years, we've heard that, just do what I say and I won't hurt you.
Right.
It's very similar. I'm here to help you. I mean, these guys are such liars and such a ruse. All they want to do is get you to an area or a location where they can get rid of you. Again, witness disposal.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll take care of you, I'll help you, I mean, just do what I say. How many times I've heard that over these decades. It's the ruse, and always the
Mhm.
major rule, although in this case it really doesn't apply, but do not go to the second location. In other words, a guy robs a restaurant. Okay, I'm not going to hurt you. Just do what I tell you. Come on, you got to go in the back, like the
Mhm.
I-70 killer. And then
Yes.
he takes him in the
Yeah.
back, shoots him in the head, kills
Yeah.
him. Just do
Right.
what I tell you. And I won't hurt you. I'm going to
Right.
kill you, but I'm not going to hurt you. Just
Right.
going to shoot you in the back of the head.
Right.
So it's very interesting the way these guys, lie and operate to and manipulate to get you, to where they want to get you. When you're looking at, these fantasies these guys have, and you wonder about Kohbergers, and there's usually all the sexual addiction that takes place that's involved in the fantasy. I mean, they are hypersexual. And the crazy part about it is when you're dealing with somebody that's an incel, that might be an incel, you know? So they're having all, that's hormones running through the male body. They're having all these fantasies about having power and control and sexual dominance, but yet they can't do it. They can't achieve it. They just can't achieve it. I mean, they can't have a relationship. It just
Right.
can't happen, right? So it's pretty interesting. And then you start to really get an idea, and you start to pick up on what's the fetish then? What's the fetish? Okay? Because we usually look for the fetish, as you know. So what is it? What is it about? Where is that fetish? So now we have this non-consensual porn, supposedly, okay, that Brian Kohberger was looking at. Again, did that come from Dateline, or is
Yeah.
that just, yeah?
Yes, that came from.
So I mean, I don't know for a fact. We're hearing it. It's hearsay, from Dateline. And then, we're talking about, various uh, victims in different positions in the porn. Don't we have a bondage porn and abduction porn? I mean, don't we have certain degrees of porn involved in there? But the non-consensuals really something that kind of jumps out at me because that's like the person that's looking through the window, the peeper through the window that has his eye on you. You don't know he's there. The stimulation he's getting of the forbidden. I see you, and I see you in positions you don't want me to see you in, but you can't see me, right? That's the forbidden piece of it, right?
Mhm.
And you say to yourself, well, this is this guy's fantasy. And usually it escalates. Usually it escalates. Like we saw in the Golden State Killer in the beginning, he was just breaking into houses. Then he starts, looking through windows, then breaking through houses,
Yeah,
peeping Tom, moving on, you know, uh, uh,
right.
then breaking into the house when it was there. Then when there's people there, when there's a woman there, and then he moves on to rape and then rape and murder. You see these guys evolve. Do you see the evolution take place with them? I mean, it's pretty evil, scary stuff. And with this guy here, this guy I really believe was really on his way. I mean, usually 25 to 35, you start to see this really taking hold, really starting to act out. Um, So, I mean, all those trips back and forth on Dateline, back and forth to the house. What was that about? What do you think that was about?
I mean, well, it's hunting, you know,
Yeah.
getting ready, preparing himself. If it's him, preparing himself. Um, yeah, stalking, first at a distance and then, getting nerve up to go in.
Mm-hmm. And that's what they were talking about, getting his nerve up. And I'm saying to myself, is there something missing here, like a sign that Maddie was home? In other words, he knows if she's home, if the light's on in her room. If the light's not on in her room, is she not home? She didn't have a car there, I don't know. I don't think. I think they got a ride that night,
Yes, from a campus person. That,
yes,
yeah.
sober driver kind of thing or whatever. Um, so I'm interested in it, but yeah. Should I? Shouldn't I? Should I? Shouldn't I? He's driving back and forth. I mean, we'll have to find out. I
Mhm.
hope there's more revealed so we can have some answers to that because that's pretty wild. The other thing is, when you look at his mother's connection to Bundy.
Yeah.
What do you see there? You know more about that than I do. Tell
Well,
me about that.
he was and it was shortly, I mean, he must have been a couple of years old when Bundy was executed, right? I think he was like 4, maybe. But she was a
See,
big,
that's the thing too, and I want to put it out there that what we have here, uh, our information is based on different allegations that have been out there. Because certainly we have nothing to say Mrs. Kohberger did anything wrong.
right.
However, she did write. Go ahead, you finish. She did.
No, no, that's okay. She wrote a letter to the newspaper.
Mhm.
Yeah, like she was a little bit of sympathetic to him, not to
Mhm.
what he did, but to the fact that he was being executed.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, yeah.
And you wonder if that had anything to do with any kind of if it happened. I mean, the way we've heard it, if it definitely had anything to do with his fantasy of Bundy. I mean,
Mhm.
he's pretty into Bundy.
But the interesting thing is Bundy was very charismatic, right? A charmer.
Mm.
He could chat up a woman where he couldn't chat up a woman. He was very awkward. Was
Yeah,
it?
that's a big, 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 big difference.
Mhm.
That's a big, 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 big difference. Because Bundy was definitely more socially
Mhm.
adept, and very charismatic, much of a charmer, like you said.
Mhm.
And it's like when you see a guy that can actually talk women off the street somehow, manipulate them. Like, these are not women in the sex business, okay? I mean, these are women that are just every day, you know, go to work, go to church kind of women.
Mhm.
And he's able to manipulate them and manipulate them with their care and concern because, quite a few times he's had his arm in a sling or he's had it in something or other to make him look disabled, right?
Well, not only that, John, but I mean, like, he could charm other people too, or he had a lot of friendships. And I mean, look, he was a crisis counselor with Ann Rule. I mean, who thought he was a nice person? I mean, I don't, this guy has a whole different personality. I mean, people right off the bat were kind of put off by him, where they weren't with Bundy. They kind of, I think they trusted Bundy more, He had a,
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely. Because, as you said, he was on the 800 line for suicide.
Yeah, I
And,
know.
it said he helped some people.
Yep.
He talked some people out of killing themselves.
Yep.
That's some of the feedback we've gotten, that of course that's all confidential. You'd never get into that,
Mhm.
and if anybody even used their name, but he actually worked that 800 number
Mhm.
or whatever that hotline number was, for people in distress or people thinking about committing suicide. Right. Very, 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 very interesting. Um, the other thing that I look at that jumps out at me is, again, they're very much similar in looks, I guess. They're very much similar in possible MOs, because don't forget, Brian Kohberger's still innocent. Bundy's guilty and dead, right? He was executed. Um, but they um, pretty much were very much similar in having, as you brought out, a victim of choice, depending on hair, physical characteristics, and it looks like hair in this situation. Um, when you get into the chatting him up and being social, I forget the name of the lake. I think it might have been Lake Sammamish,
That was it. That's it.
Sammamish, out in Washington. I mean, Bundy actually talked to a number of women, ended
Mhm.
up getting two of them at different times through the course of the day to come off the beach and follow him, right? To this private area where he said he had his car, and he killed them.
And Janice Ott was a probation officer. So you think her, she would have had maybe some insight, right?
You think she would have picked up like feeling weird, right?
I think that's how good he was at manipulation.
Speaking of that, and I'm certainly not second guessing anyone, but I think he had his arm in a sling there too, or something where he needed help
Yeah,
with his boat or something on his car or whatever, right?
yes.
And, what kind of bothered me was, well, how could you be out boating if your arm's in a sling? And how did you get, the boat off the car to begin with, right? I mean, of course, he could say he had friends help him then or whatever, and they're not around now or whatever.
Mhm.
He had help. I mean, it's just weird if I see somebody, that wants help with their boat and, leading you believe they've been boating and their arms in a sling and they're kind of disabled.
Was their arm in a sling when he was on campus and he had somebody carry his books?
He had a cast or something. I mean, I don't know what
He had a cast on, I think, yeah.
but he had
Mm-hmm.
different ruses, but just to show you how evil these guys are, they're taking advantage of a woman's maternal instincts
Right,
to help somebody out,
right.
to care for somebody. That's pretty evil stuff. Is there anything else we need to talk about before we break?
I don't think so, John. Can you think of anything?
No, I really can't at this time. I'm sure we'll have something later on, maybe, next week, but we'll think of things later, it always happens with me anyway. But I can't thank you enough. Truly appreciate you. The audience always appreciates you
Thank you, John.
um, and your professionalism. So, most importantly, we'll catch up again. We'll see what's going on here. Again, thanks for your time. And I want to thank the audience for letting us into their houses. I truly appreciate it, for hanging in there with us. This was a little longer video than we normally do, but there's an awful lot to cover here and an awful lot to come. So, and to our audience and to you, God bless. Make it a great day. Have a wonderful weekend. And until we meet again, stay safe out there. Thank you.
Thank you.